Yo, the enemy's public, I gotta keep my eyes open. Pay attention, stop walking around like you blindfolded. This not the World Cup, but Nasir be kicking knowledge. This the type of information you can never learn in college. It's time to fight back, it's no more trying to play it cool. We got interviews, podcasts, and got the latest news. So sit back and relax, we about to get it started. Earth is a canvas, and guess who's the con artist? They brainwashing us, the system corrupted. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. I said you are now rocking with the enemy's public. Hey.
Peace. This is the enemy's public. And I am Bro.Nasir. This evening, I want to go over something that's beyond disgusting, something that's beyond undermining, disrespectful of our pain and suffering. Peace to my brother, Big Dog Philly OG. Thanks for coming through. Now, we have to be mindful of what's going on abroad, because if we don't, it will be at our doorsteps if we're not mindful, and if we don't do things to prevent it. What Florida is doing at their Board of Education and the state government, the governor himself, Ron DeSantis, I call him Ron the Satan, what they're doing concerning teaching our children about our own history is outright deplorable. They want to teach our children that slavery was beneficial to us and that we learn trades that will sustain us today. We learn trades. They want to teach our children that the dehumanization of our people was beneficial to us, and that even after those of us who were enslaved were so-called freed, that the massacres that occurred, Tulsa, Oakland, Florida, Wilmington, South Carolina, other places, all over the United States, there were massacres. All because we wanted to exercise rights. Most of the rights wasn't even civil rights. We were denied human rights. Salute Chief 18 Wills. Thanks for coming through. We were denied human rights. They want us to, or our children, those who are charged with teaching our children, those who go and get an education, go and learn the curriculum, go and get a teacher's certificate, and who are charged with being around our children 7 to 8 hours a day, and teach our children a curriculum of lies. They want our children to learn that the violence that was committed on us, we had it coming. They want us to talk about the violence that was done to us, and they want us to talk about the violence that was done by us. They want to take it back to the narrative that they use to justify the slaughter of our brothers and sisters to this very moment. Black on black crime. When there's no such thing as black on black crime. What our people need to stop doing is using the same narratives that our open and consistent enemy use to justify doing harm to us on any level. Because crimes, whether it's violent or any type of crime, or social engineering crime, what have you, they're done by proximity. People are victims based on where they're at and who they are around. If someone's murdered in the Hamptons on Long Island, 9 times out of 10, somebody from that area did it. Nobody's going from Brooklyn, Queens, or Staten Island all the way to Long Island and doing that. Somebody from there did it. So there's no such thing as black on black crime, because when they commit crimes and victimize each other, they just call it simply crime. Now, they want our children to be taught a history of themselves that is going to serve to their detriment. And my question to the teachers who are against it, because a lot of teachers came out against it, all boards of education in the state of Florida should close the ranks and sue the state government, because Ron DeSantis and nobody in state government are teaching the children. They don't have the teacher certificate to teach the children. And they shouldn't be telling teachers what to teach, and they shouldn't be changing the curriculum. Ron DeSantis and racist devils like himself don't want the true history of wicked, violent white America to be taught, because it's not going to portray them in a positive light. And also, it would diminish the false legacy of their so-called great heroes. Because if a president is speaking out against slavery and the undoing of the Constitution and the undoing of what make America great, and they own slaves, it makes them a hypocrite. It makes them all a hypocrite. Now, those of us who were in the military, some of us went because we were sold on that college money. Some of us went because we got in trouble. We had no choice. They said, well, either this or that. And some of us went because we were patriotic. Blind patriots. Peace to my brother, Brown's Flat Power God. Thank you for coming through, good brother. Some of us, we joined that army for various reasons. And we defended liberties that we don't even get, we don't even receive. While we're over fighting for liberties that our people don't receive, our people are over here suffering, while black soldiers, or wherever they send them fighting for freedom that we have never enjoyed. Now I want to play some video clips, some news clippings of the aforementioned subject at hand, topic of discussion. Again, when we thought that we have uncovered all of their lies, we discover another lie, either they told or are attempting to tell.
By the State Board of Education earlier this week. Now, this follows Governor DeSantis' so-called Stop Woke Act, which forced the rewriting of education standards there in Florida. A controversial part of these new standards is
Let me tell you how contrary this wicked governor and wicked government, this wicked corporation, I must say, is. They are so contrary. Stop the woke act. Stop people from being woke. And they make woke synonymous to someone trying to do something nefarious. Woke. Look at what they're determining what woke is.
instruction for middle school students to learn, quote, how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. The largest teachers union in the state has spoken out against the new standards, calling them, quote, a step backward, adding that students deserve the full truth of American history. For more on this, we are joined by Andrew Atterbury. He is an education policy reporter for Politico based in Florida. Andrew, implying that enslaved people benefited from their bondage has understandably upset many people. How are folks in Florida responding to this?
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here from Tallahassee. So that they came out on Wednesday at this meeting, and this is really the first time that people got a glimpse of what these standards look like. And it was a firestorm for the Florida Department of Education and the Board of Education. People that were there weren't too thrilled with these lessons, but the state, they were proud to roll these out. This is something they've been working on for a while. Like you said, they come from the Stop Woke Act. That was something that specifically
Stop Woke Act, meaning that they know that our people have caught on to their lies and we're acting on it. Stop the Woke Act. We are acting on waking up and seeing their lies. And a lot of our people are going accordingly, taking our children out of these schools, and we're teaching each other our true history. They are so worried that the whole entire world is going to find out that they're nowhere near as great as they've been portraying all these years. A bunch of liars. Stop the Woke Act.
Governor Ron DeSantis requested last year. The woke part is actually an acronym. It means the Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act. That was something that was one of his biggest parts of his agenda back last year. And that what the law actually does, it creates new protections for students and even workers is a whole other part of it, that a person shouldn't be instructed to feel guilt, anguish, or any form of psychological distress due to their race, color, sex, or national origin. So because of that new law, they decided that they needed to change all of these the standards too. So they actually created a whole new carve out.
They're going to change the whole curriculum and teach lies and call it history. They're going to take true history call it critical race theory, all because the history, what they call a theory, is critical of them. And they want to replace it with a curriculum of lies and call it history. Yet it's our tax dollars that go to these Board of Educations to miseducate and indoctrinate our children with outright lies.
On Black history, which is why they were so proud of it. It was something that they thought went even deeper than their previous lessons. But whenever these were rolled out and you saw some of the framing of it, some people really took issue with it.
Andrew, I should say that we reached out to the governor's office and they pointed us to a statement that was shared by the Board of Education. It reads in part, quote, Florida students deserve to learn how slaves took advantage of whatever circumstances they were in to benefit themselves and the community of African descent.
How is the dehumanizing of a people? How could anyone benefit from that? Our people was dehumanized. And they say they want our people to be taught, our children to be taught, that they benefited from bondage, dehumanization, murder. Some of the things that they did to our people, not during the 1800s, during the 1900s, are deplorable. And it benefited us. If I still had those pictures, I'm going to show the mindset of a wicked human. I'm not going to call it human, a wicked person. I'm going to show you what takes thought, wicked thought. This takes wicked thought. But I'm going to show you some of the things they've done that takes wicked thought.
How does this differ from what has been taught in the state in the past?
Well, when you look at the lessons, they really didn't have any specific carve-outs for Black history. So this is all, for a lot of the stuff is new things that they're introducing, which is why the state thinks this is good for them. We're going, hey, we're actually going deeper into some of this stuff. But when you look at, like you said, the way that some of these were worded, like the benefits of it, people said that was just absolutely not okay. I mean, you saw this getting issue. People were raising, like civil rights lawyer Benjamin Crump was talking about this. So this was getting a lot more attention than just Florida, which is probably not something that people expected, just from the way that it was rolled out. And as you and the statement that you mentioned earlier, the state is also taking aim at the teachers union, saying that a lot of this is their fault, and that they're blowing up an issue that the state thinks really isn't a big deal.
A lot of it is some of the parents' faults, especially our people, because they should have been going to those Board of Education meetings. And when they started talking about doing what they're doing, implementing this foolishness, it should have been several parents standing up and saying, hell no. You're not teaching my child that, because if you're a taxpayer in whatever state is implementing this foolishness, you can say, no, you're not teaching my child that. And not only that, we are charged with teaching our children their true history. We're charged with teaching them that, of who they are and what happened. Now, this whole thing is deplorable, and we need to be mindful. It's in Florida now, but watch and be mindful of what's abroad, because you know how these people are.
And this is something that you see a lot in Florida. DeSantis administration, the Department of Education, they're constantly at odds with the teachers union. This is things that go back to the COVID pandemic, teacher pay. I mean, that's pretty typical for Florida, but there were other organizations as well. There were state lawmakers, there were Democratic lawmakers who raised issues with this. The NAACP was there. I mean, so there were several other groups too. So it's not just teachers unions, but that's kind of what the state is doing a little bit, is needling the union, saying y'all kind of sparked a lot of these concerns.
Well, I'm sure that there's also parents who are concerned about this, and I'm wondering where we go from here. The Board of Education, made up entirely of DeSantis appointees. So what recourse do parents have if they disagree?
Now, everybody who works at the Board of Education was appointed by DeSantis, meaning he had the same kind of appointees like Donald Trump had in his administration. Even if he's doing something totally crooked, wicked, and detrimental to a people, either they're going to get with the program or they'll probably lose their job. Just imagine everybody at the Board of Education was appointed by this bastard.
Well, now it's now this really falls on school districts to carry this out, and then we'll go through picking textbooks and things like that. But as far as the state goes, I mean, these are the standards now. These were unanimously passed by the Board of Education, and they were the Board of Education stood by these too. You know, they said this, the whole history is there. They said that they stood by these, and that they kind of downplayed the complaints as saying, you know, that we think this is great, and people are just missing the point, basically. So from the
playing down the complaint. Okay, you can sign a complaint first. Do it clerically first. But where are the hellraisers? When it comes to this, it should be hellraisers. It should be hell-raising. People should be down at the Board of Education, and they should be interrupting and disrupting business as usual at those schools. If we say you're not going to teach it, you're not going to teach it. We're going to disrupt it every time you try to teach it. You won't teach it that way. That should be the end game. You won't teach it that way. If you're going to tell a lie, don't talk to my child.
From the state's perspective, this is pretty much done, which is why you see them defending it today, and they doubled down on it again today, saying that this is what we're going to go with. And you still, even speaking to some of the concerns, I mean, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke out about it. She's supposed to speak in Jacksonville today. So this is getting a lot more attention than I think folks really expected it to.
All right, Andrew Atterbury, thank you.
I'm going to go to the next video. This is
now to the growing controversy over Florida's new education standards after Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill called the Stop Woke Act last year. The changes include teaching middle schoolers that some enslaved people actually benefited from slavery because it taught them skills. Nancy Cordes is following all of this at the White House. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, John. Yes, this debate may have started in Florida, but it has now landed squarely in the middle of the presidential race.
I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it.
Look at this bastard trying to distance himself from that, because he know that our people, those of us who participate in the farce called election and voting, he know this hurts him, but he's trying to distance himself from this, when he appointed everybody on the Board of Education. So we know all this foolishness reflects leadership, and he's the governor.
Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis tried to distance himself from the curriculum controversy, but it didn't work.
I didn't do it and I'm not involved in it are not the words of leadership.
Florida's new history teaching guidelines, approved last week, stem from a...
Okay, I didn't do it, but you signed it. You signed it, so you did do it. You did do it. And it's going to benefit, it's going to paint white children in a positive light and make the victims the culprit. It's going to make the victims of crimes of humanity the culprit.
From a 2022 law Governor DeSantis called the Stop Woke Act.
Governor DeSantis started this fire with the bill that he signed.
The new standards say Florida students should be taught about the harsh conditions slaves endured, but also about how slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
They're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later.
Okay, because you were able to put shoes on a damn horse. That's a benefit of slavery, because you were able to put shoes on a horse, or you were able to shuck some corn, pick some cotton, build home for white folks. That's the benefit of oppression. That's the benefit of slavery.
Later in life.
That comment drew a swift rebuke from fellow Republican presidential candidate Will Hurd, who tweeted, "Slavery wasn't a jobs program that taught beneficial skills."
Exactly. Slavery wasn't a jobs program that taught beneficial skills. It was dehumanizing and subjugated people as property because they lacked any rights or freedoms. Well said, Will Hurd.
It was literally dehumanizing. NAACP President Derek Johnson.
We all must stand together as a nation to ensure we don't find ourselves going backwards, that we stand united as a country and not try to remake history.
Two of the authors of the guidelines say they proudly stand behind them and that they...
Listen, look at these two. Behold, look at these names. They are co-authors of Florida curriculum guidelines. We always have some of our own involved in the foolishness that's detrimental to our people. I always say they can never do it without the help of some of us. It's always one of us helping our open and consistent enemy, because these two, I guarantee you, these are some dignified Negroes who think they have risen above the condition of their own people.
They were, quote, developed using a methodical process within our work group.
They want to replace history with lies.
The nation's first Black and Asian American vice president traveled to Florida Friday to condemn the new standards in person.
This right here is nothing but pandering. Nothing but pandering. If this was 2020 or 21, she wouldn't be saying any of this. Next year is an election year. So she's doing her campaign of pandering to us now because Joe Biden probably is going to be too decrepit to run. And if he don't run, she's going to be on the ticket. And she wants that office. So she's going to go around pandering to our people for votes. She can care less because our history is not her history. So she don't care. See, that's why I say to our sisters, this is what I call the Sister Act. This is the Sister Act to get our women on her side. And because she looked like one of us, she's the wrong one. She's not a sister. She's not. She's doing the Sister Act.
I am deeply concerned. Because let's be clear, I do believe this is not only about the state of Florida. There is a national agenda afoot.
This is likely to come.
Pandering 101. Made it national. She's telling the truth, but you got to question people's motives on why she's telling the truth. I question her motives.
Up again when Vice President Harris appears at a Latino conference in Chicago today. Governor DeSantis is defending the new standards, saying they are probably the most robust African-American history standards in the country. Nancy?
Nancy, thank you.
Say it's robust. like a good cup of damn coffee, robust.
A classroom controversy is erupting in Florida over how students will learn about Black history. The State Board of Education has just approved standards for public schools. One rule that teachers must now follow requires middle school students to learn, quote, how slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. And at the high school level, if students learn about race massacres like the 1920 rampage in Ocoee, Florida, teachers must include, quote, acts of violence perpetrated against and by African Americans. Joining me to discuss is Andrew Spar, president of the Florida Education Association. Andrew, to be clear, when it comes to that massacre, that was against African Americans, trying to prevent them from voting, just to be clear with folks who may not be familiar with that history. What is your reaction to these standards?
We're very concerned about the standards here in Florida. You know, what teachers want to do is they want to teach kids an accurate, complete, and honest history, both the good and the bad. And what we see happening here right now in Florida is the governor is putting his political agenda ahead of the education of our children, and he's picking and choosing what he believes should be part of the history that is taught in our schools. I mean, you mentioned two examples from middle and high school, but even in elementary school, where we typically talk to kids about explaining and describing and defining, they're being told just to recognize and identify key figures in African American history, not talk about their contributions and how those contributions may have affected their lives and the lives of their families.
What other standards? Are there other ones besides the ones you mentioned, besides the ones that I outlined there in the introduction to you, that are concerning?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're talking about what's missing from these standards. Florida's Articles of Succession, when there was the Civil War, aren't even included in these standards, and talking about the impact that that has on our students. Or on that had on Black people, and particularly slaves. We also see, when we talk about the Supreme Court ruling of Brown versus the Board of Education, again, another key element is missing, which is when the Florida legislature voted to say that the Supreme Court ruling was null and void in the state of Florida. Those are key elements that we need to know, because we learn from our history. And when you leave that out of the teaching to our students, it's problematic. And keep in mind, teachers in Florida are operating under a law passed last year, which was the Stop Woke Act, where they are threatened with their jobs and their teaching certificate if they teach something that the governor decides is part of woke in America or woke in Florida, or part of stuff he does not want taught in our schools.
This is a tyrannical governor. How the hell you going to decide what the teachers teach in the schools? That's tyranny.
And so because of that, teachers are very hesitant as to how they navigate standards when things like key issues are missing.
So, Andrew, your organization represents 150,000 teachers and also other education professionals. What are you hearing from them now with these standards passed?
Well, we've been hearing for a while from them, because last year, again, Florida passed the Stop Woke Act. They also had a civics training that they did for teachers. And we were hearing from them about how it seemed like they were trying to rewrite the history, leave things out, talking about how the founding fathers in our country fought against slavery, but not talking about how they owned slaves. So
they didn't fight against slavery. They owned slaves. They had slaves on their property. They had slaves to maintain their property, pick their food. How are you going to say you fought against slavery and the undoing of America when you participated in the undoing of America? Peace to Big Dog Philly OG. Thanks for coming up, brother. How you doing?
Teachers are very concerned with what.
I'm good brother. Grand Rising. Much love and respect to you and the family. Much love and respect to everybody in the chat, man. Go ahead, finish your thing. I'll tap in.
What's happening and how we're narrowing the curriculum. They're also very concerned that many of our students are no longer seeing themselves in their learning. And that is really, really important for kids to learn. It's one of those foundational skills that one of those foundational needs that kids have, which is to see themselves in their learning and how their learning connects to them. So when you say don't teach current events, when you say limit what kids can see and learn, that's a real problem for educators.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? What are the long-term effects that you are concerned about with children learning history the way it is outlined in these standards?
Again, there's that old adage, if we don't learn from history, we're destined to repeat it. So if you are selecting what you can and can't learn in our schools, as the governor is doing right now for his own political ambitions, then kids are missing out on that education they deserve and need. If they don't learn about how slavery really came about in this country and how there were attempts to continue slavery even after the emancipation.
It's crazy how everybody speaking against this don't look like us. Where are the black teachers? And the only two black people I seen were co-authors of this foolishness.
Emancipation Proclamation. If they don't learn about how there was separate and unequal in our schools, which Brown versus the Board of Education reversed and changed, and how states like Florida and other states fought against desegregation, then we're destined to repeat that. And what's concerning is we're seeming like we're going back to 1950 rather than going ahead to 2050 and the great prosperity ahead of us.
Andrew Spar with the
Foolishness.
At another flash.
You want to tap in, brother? Before I start this other video.
Now, do your thing, my brother. Much respect.
Point in Florida over race and education. The State Board of Education just approved new rules for how to teach Black history in public schools. And according to the Washington Post, the new standards say students should learn that enslaved people develop skills that, quote, could be applied for their personal benefit. And that during lessons about mob violence against Black residents, teachers should include acts of violence perpetrated.
Now, they want us, or the teachers who are charged with teaching the students, to teach during lessons on mob violence against Black people. Teachers should include acts of violence perpetrated against and by African Americans. What this does is make them look innocent, like they didn't do the things that they did. When these acts of violence were committed on our people by white mobs, it's because they were exercising rights that they had. Most of it was for like voting. They wanted to vote. They wanted to eat in a restaurant. They wanted to, to me, something that we shouldn't have been fighting for in the first damn place. Wanting nearness to our open and consistent enemy. It doesn't make sense to me why they were enduring such pain and suffering, all because they wanted to be near people who don't want them. Somebody don't want to be near you or don't want you around them. Why would you want to be around them? See, integration to me was the undoing of our people, and it didn't benefit our people. It was very detrimental to our people because a lot of our business closed because we wanted to go to other people's business, wanted to patronize other people's businesses, and ours suffered. And that's the undoing of what we establish as a people. But to teach our children that acts of violence perpetrated against and by our people, every single one of those mob attacks, not one was started by one of us. They made an excuse. Most of the time it was they said one of us, what they'll call reckless eyeballed or catcalled a white woman or looked at a white woman or even spoke to a white woman. or they'll say, oh, somebody touched one, like Tulsa, trying to say an elevator worker sexually aggressed a white woman. And they flew planes over Tulsa and they bombed the place for that? No. Tulsa was outright envy because the place was ours and it was beautiful, and that's how these people operate. Even if you earn it, they don't think you deserve to have it.
Perpetrated against and by African Americans.
Peace, Joe.
Let's bring in Michael Eric
Please.
Dyson, professor of African American Studies at Vanderbilt University. He's also the co-author of Unequal, a Story of America. Michael, first, your reaction to these changes.
Well, Anna, thanks for having me. It's quite ludicrous. It's devastatingly deceitful. It's mendacious, and it doesn't recognize the central place of pedagogy and teaching and curriculum in trying to get at lessons for young people. Why is the state trying to impose its hand on the teaching of history of African American people for the state's students? This is something that should be generated with educators, experts at disseminating information. This would be akin to saying that Native American people, when we teach their history, we should not only talk about the smallpox blankets that were distributed by the Pilgrims, but the attempt of Native Americans to defend themselves that was equally violent. This would be like teaching the Holocaust, saying that there were some good things that Jewish brothers and sisters picked up in those death camps that, should they survive, would be helpful for them to make their way in life. This is ludicrous. This was an institution of enslavement. Now they're saying we should teach both Rosa Parks and Thomas Jefferson. No problem there, except to say that Thomas Jefferson, while being a creative interpreter of American history and a contributor as a founding father, was also enslaving human beings. Rosa Parks was not. So this false equivalency between experiences of African American people and others being dictated to by the state of Florida is a grave disservice to true education in America. And those who are on the right wing who supposedly want to keep government out of the classroom and the bedroom are doing the exact opposite.
Context always matters, right? Florida's education commissioner argues that these changes will make the history curriculum more, quote, robust. So he's claiming this means students will learn more of the history. What do you see as the longer term impact of all of this on the next generation?
They will learn more bullshit. They will learn less about what happened, less about themselves. And what happened is this is what you really call whitewashing. This is whitewashing. Literally painting these people as innocent people who didn't do anything. I don't understand why it's not a massive hell raising going on, protests and shit going on down in Florida. All I'm saying to our people, I know this probably is rhetorical to a lot of us because a lot of us is not going to send our children to these schools, but to those who send their children to public schools, this is headed your way. All of this is headed your way, just like the storms come up the Eastern Seaboard. The same bullshit is headed your way.
Right, it's ridiculous. How is it more robust? Help us understand what that might mean. Robust in terms of what? More rigorous in its approach? No, it's not. It is distorted. It is taking U.S. history, in this case, African-American contributions to history, and not just history, but culture, politics, sociology, and the like. It is taking the experiences of marginalized peoples and putting them on the chopping block of a ideology and a politics that is destructive. What impact will it have? It will deny young students access to rigorous history, to robust history, to an accounting of America for what it has done in.
I don't like the inclusion, Michael Eric Dyson. It is denying our children. Tell it all the way like it is, because other students is coming out, students who are not our children is coming out on top in this equation. You shouldn't talk if you're not going to tell it like it is. It's going to deny our children the true history, because they are changing the history to benefit themselves and paint themselves in a better light, making themselves look innocent and whitewashing history. And it's also an agenda. It's a preemptive strike to me. A preemptive strike on reparations. Because if it's wiped out and it's never really happened, why would they pay reparations?
In the past, that has been glorious and has been grievous.
Big
The point of
facts,
history
brother.
is for us to learn from that past in order to apply lessons to the present. What Florida wants to do is to distort what happened back then so they can manipulate what's going on now. The two are intimately webbed, and I think tragically so in the case of Florida.
And Brother Nasir, you know, I was just going to say, it proves my point about the state, how they control the educational criteria.
Absolutely.
You know, it proves my point.
The war on woke
When
is
the government can change the laws of history. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, you're right. When they can just come and just change, oh, we're going to change this and change that, no matter if it happened, you can witness it. It's like redacting paperwork. They just put a black line over it. You know, in this case, a white line over it. Just change the history. You know, we talked about McGraw-Hill a few months ago, how they're trying to do that. And now they're literally doing it, telling teachers that they have to lie. You know, that is perjury. You know, people, you know, that's perjury.
And that's going to be pushed across all 52 states. Go ahead, brother.
Exactly. It's starting in Florida, but it's going to come up the Eastern Seaboard. It's going to come up just like those storms do. How they send those storms up. They're going to send this up to
those nor'easters. That's what they call nor'easters.
Exactly. Those nor'easters, they're going to send those straight up, and they're going to send them out west, Midwest, all the way to the West Coast. It's going to spread. It's going to spread.
It's really a war
And
against
like you
young
said,
people. And
real quick, you know, they don't gotta pay reparations or reparations at all, because we learned a skill or a trade from it. So they're covering their back, you know, doubling up. And it's crazy how people ain't outraged, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, all of us should be mad as hell about this, brother, because they saying it benefited us because we learned trades, brother. On-the-job training. That was on-the-job training, bro. And not only that, who here today that was here back then? That's the part that's not making sense.
Hey, enemies public. We got a trade, and they got generational wealth.
Exactly. That's even, brother. That's an even. There ain't no robbery and that exchange, bro.
Exactly.
No robbery and that exchange, bro. That's a fair exchange.
They got generational wealth, and we got a trade that can keep us alive.
Exactly. There's no robbery in that equation, brother. It's a fair exchange.
Extreme attack on how they think, exist, speak, and especially how they understand the world they live in. Those attacks reached new heights this week when the Florida Department of Education released shocking new guidelines on how U.S. history, particularly around racial violence, is taught. Florida middle school students will now be taught that slavery gave Black people a personal benefit because they developed beneficial job skills. High school students will now be taught that Black people were also perpetrators of violence during white supremacist massacres, like the one in Rosewood, Florida in 19...
You see this shit, man, with violent during the massacres. we caused the massacres. They're going to put this, while they indoctrinate our children, they're going to put this in the heads of their children. Their children is benefiting from it, and they're making the victim the culprit.
Yeah, we were protecting ourselves, so they had to get more violent with us. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Mob destroyed the rural black town and murdered many of its residents. The state's education department, if you can even call it that, is doing this in a public school system where 64% of its students are people of color. Late today, Vice President Kamala Harris traveled to Jacksonville, Florida, to talk about what slavery was really about.
It involved torture. It involved taking a baby from their mother. It involved some of the worst examples of depriving people of humanity in our world.
Peace to Anthony Lowe. Thanks for coming through, brother.
Propaganda to our children. This is the United States of America. We're not supposed to do that.
Come on, Kamala. Stop it. You're pandering, and you know all of what they lock people up for today was, everything they locked people up for today was done to establish the United States. So stop it. Stop talking about what it should be, and America's not about that, because if America wasn't about that, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't have happened. So she's doing the pandering because they don't come to you unless they want something. All politicians, every last one of them, they don't come to you unless they want something. Next year is an election year, and she's on a campaign of pandering. She's going to use this. And just like Ron DeSantis is distancing himself from this, she's going to go after him, because it's probably going to be him and her.
They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not have it.
Now, I should note, we invited the Florida Education Department to have a representative come on this show to discuss this issue tonight, but we did not get a response. To the Florida Board of Education, as well as Education Commissioner Manny Diaz, please know our invitation still stands. Joining me now is Florida State Senator Chevron Jones.
But listen to that name, DeSantis, and the one of the board members' last names, Diaz. Just listen to the name. There goes your black and brown damn alliance right there. A lot of these people, not all of them, some of them are down, some of them know who they are in their origin, but you got some of them who come from these other countries, and they'll put white on their status. They are wannabe honorary white supremacists, like a Ted Cruz, like a Ron DeSantis, like all these people with these Hispanic names. They come over here and they want to be white. Some of them will even call themselves white, like the cop in Newark who just got convicted. Jumping out of the car, overzealous, on the side of a car 3 different times, shooting at somebody, ended up killing somebody. Now his ass is going to prison.
And State Senator, I know that you serve on the Education Committee, so you've been watching this happen, up close. One of the many ironies of what's happening here is that the law that requires that African American history be taught in the state of Florida was passed based on paying reparations, or at least on recognizing the Rosewood Massacre itself. That is what.
What did I say, brother OG? A preemptive strike on reparations. That's what it was.
Yes, sir. Big facts.
Sparked the law that says they have to teach African American history. What do you make of the
Don't
fact that
even
they said,
try
yeah,
to
you have
talk
to
about
teach
it,
it?
because it ain't gonna happen. That's what they're saying.
Yep, a preemptive strike. They trying to get ahead of that. So when the time comes, because people were mentioning Rosewood, and it was like, hell no. So these people are wicked. They are wickedly wise. They're wickedly wise.
but it has to be, as the vice president called it, propaganda.
Well, first, Joy, thank you for having me. But let's also point out that we're talking about the same department that back in January rejected the curriculum for AP African American studies for being too illustration that said that Black history brought about no educational value. The Republicans continue to speak out of both sides of their mouth, not just on this issue, but on various issues. So it's not surprising to me that we land right here once again, that even in the standards writing that the Department of Education presented and they voted unanimously on, that this has come about and this is the direction that this the Board of Education has gone in. And I want to make it clear to everyone, I think you've made it clear, and I think so many others have made it clear that there was no benefit to slavery and those individuals being enslaved. There was no benefit at all to it. And I also want to point out the fact that all of this is disingenuous. It's totally disengaging from the process and what we as a legislative body should be doing in this moment, considering the fact of the many issues that we as a state should be dealing with to make sure that our children are learning accurate history.
Yeah, what was the benefit of forced breeding, of raping enslaved women and then owning their children as a breeding strategy and also just as a form of venality? What was the benefit of taking Black enslaved children and putting them by the water so that gators could come, so that they could hunt gators, and using them as literal gator bait, and then putting that on postcards? That is the savagery that took place. And yet your state would now like to teach that acts of violence against African Americans has to be taught alongside claiming that it is African Americans who are causing the violence. And that's not limited to the 1908 Atlanta race riot, 1919 Washington, D.C. race riot, 1920 Okosi massacre, 1921 Tulsa massacre, 1923 Rosewood massacre. They just kept happening over and over and over again. And I wanted you to comment on this, please, Senator.
These people are so damn wicked.
Florida is a place where already 35% of these students are white in public school, but 20.9% are Black, 36.4% are Latino, 2.8% are Asian American, and 4.1% are two or more races. So when the vice president says it's propaganda, they're trying to propagandize non-white children to make them believe that slavery was a good thing. And I wonder for what reason. Can you speculate on why they...
Exactly what I said. They're putting this in the head of their children that nothing happened, nothing was wrong, and they're trying to have a feel-good moment to make their children feel better about what happened and make our children feel less about themselves. We're violent, trying to push the same narrative they push today about our people being violent. We don't even have a history of committing violence on another people besides our damn selves. Self-hating niggas want to kill each other, and they want to put violence on our people as if we go around committing violence. We are the most disrespected people in the United States and throughout this damn world. Our people.
They want Black children to believe that slavery was good.
Yeah, I can't speculate on why they're doing this, but I also can tell you that you see what's happening in Florida and across the country of this narrative that's being pushed. Yeah, it's really because this is not a policy issue. This is a power struggle that we're seeing right now. This isn't just about the rewriting of history. Florida is trying to wipe away anything that contradicts the carefully crafted narrative that DeSantis is creating, and that includes Black history. So here's my thing. So if DeSantis doesn't want teachers to teach Black history in the classroom, then I'll put my teacher hat on for 2 seconds and I'll do it right here. I mean, it wasn't an accident that Vice President Harris chose La Villa in Jacksonville to do her visit. La Villa is a historically Black neighborhood that became a safe haven for recently freed slaves after the Civil War due to the relative safety it offered with Union troops located nearby. So Florida has a great deal of history. I think we should also point out that Florida was one of the last states to move forward when it comes to desegregation. And one of the last states. And so what we're seeing in Florida, this is a national issue that we're dealing with, Joy. And this is a national problem that we're dealing with. We have the potential right now to raise a generation of children who don't know who they are, who don't know where they come from, and who do not know their history. We have to stand firm on this. And I'm not just talking about Black people have to stand firm. Our allies have to stand firm, because history is history. Whether you're a Jewish American.
What allies? That's the problem. When people come around asking us how can they help, just tell them, leave us alone and don't hinder our progress. When we're trying to progress, don't hinder us. Leave us alone. That's how you can help. But when you are so inclusive that you're looking for people to help you that haven't helped you in the past, what makes you think these people are going to get some change of damn heart and help us free ourselves, starting with our damn mind? It makes no sense. These Negroes get on my nerves.
American, whether you're a Chinese American, everyone's history is important. And whether you feel comfortable or uncomfortable, it doesn't matter. You cannot tie a bow on what happened in American history and say that it was good. It wasn't. Lynching wasn't good. Redlining wasn't good. All the things that have happened in America need to be taught, and children need to know the truth.
Absolutely. And you have to wonder why the people who are passing these laws don't assume that their children, if they are white, will not identify with the people who were heroic in history and with the abolitionists. They just assume that their children are going to identify with the enslavers, and so they're trying to make the enslavers look good. And if you want to know why they're doing it because they want to raise a generation of people who will be conservative enough
100%.
to give them their damn
100%.
tax cuts, to give them the
100%.
money they want and the deregulation they want. And they're terrified of young people because young people already are woke. Too late. Florida State Senator Chevron Jones, thank you very much.
Stop the woke act. They're woke and they're acting off being woke. I agree with Joy Reid. I think it's too late. But when people are desperate, they'll do any goddamn thing. This is the last video. Ron DeSantis trying to distance himself like he got
The
caught.
controversy over Florida's new education standards is intensifying after Governor Ron DeSantis.
Like he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He's going to say, I didn't do it.
Signed a bill called the Stop Woke Act last year. The changes include teaching middle schoolers that some enslaved people actually benefited from slavery because it taught them skills. Nancy Cordes is following this at the White House. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Wendy. You know, this debate may have started in Florida, but it has now landed squarely in the middle of the presidential race.
I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it.
Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis tried to distance himself from the curriculum controversy, but it didn't work.
I didn't do it, and I'm not involved in it, are not the words of leadership.
Florida's new history
Hey, Grand Rising, everybody. The enemy's public must have got knocked out, man. Like, I'm in the next state over, you know, Georgia. I chose to homeschool my daughter. You know what I mean? I don't agree with anything these people was talking about. They're lying about history. You know, they don't want to say that it was crimes against humanity done to us here in America. How we've been reclassified 8 to 10 different to 11 different times. You know, and basically all these states are lying to the people. And it just shows how the governor controls the state.
Self out by mistake, brother.
Go ahead, brother. You got it. I was just holding it down.
I think I played that video already. I didn't want to play it again. I hit the wrong button. Yeah, but brother, but that's what they're trying to do. I know you've been speaking about this for a minute when it came to the state controlling the schools, the medical system, the religion, you name it. You name it. They want to control it all, and they've been controlling it all. And this is the proof. They just showed their whole entire hand with this, brother. Showed the entire hand.
Yes, sir. The whole hand.
With all what they're trying to do. And if our people are not careful, those of us who have our children in these schools, just believe that all that is coming to your state is coming to your board of education. So you better prepare for this, for it coming up here. Prepare for it, and then organize your people. Just organize your people, and then look, we're not having it here. Not here, not our child. Especially when it's your tax dollars. It's our tax dollars that pay these teachers in the board of education. Hundreds of millions of dollars go into some of these districts. Hundreds of millions to pay these teachers. Especially if you live in a big city, it's even more. Little city I live in, hundreds of $millions a year to pay the teachers. They pay teachers pretty good in my city, but they're not going to get paid to miseducate our children. We're not going for that. We're not going for that. That's something we're not going for. I didn't want to go long, brother. I just wanted to come on and present this information and give my take on it because I didn't. But I appreciate you coming up and joining.
You already know it, brother. Appreciate you for letting me on, man. Much love and respect to you and the family always. Much love and respect to everybody in the chat, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button, share, and support, man. Promo 2023 and beyond. We support each other. Appreciate you letting me on, brother. Excellent topic.
I appreciate you coming up, brother. And I just wanted to tap in on this because it's a discussion that needed to be had, information that needed to be presented, and we need to act on what we know and act on our instinct. And my instinct tells me that this is going to spread and go throughout the whole, like you said, the 52 states. And I'm going to, I'm just going to conclude the stream right now. I'm just going to give everybody who joined us a shout out. Peace, of course, to you, Big Dog, Philly OG. Peace to Chief 18 Wills, Browns Flat Power God, 07, P. Moses, Anthony Lowe. Thanks for coming through. I appreciate it. I hope that this information is, enlightening and informative to you. Again, we need to stay on top of this because you never know. They'll probably try to sneak it in a state. Because the next state up, brother, is Georgia, and that's where you at, brother. But I see that.
Sir.
You know what I'm saying? It's the next state up, but that's what I said. That's why I said that you don't worry about that because your child is homeschooled. So, but to those,
yes, sir. But we still need to get the information out to the people who still letting their kids go to these schools, like you said, brother. So
exactly,
we just got to keep getting the awareness out to the people. Go ahead, do your thing, brother. Appreciate you for letting me on.
Exactly. We have to make sure those who are not homeschooling their children know the agenda. I mean, it's so many agendas in these schools, brother. They just want to just straight up corrupt our children. All kinds of things going to go in these schools. But they want to send men in dressed as women to read to our children. Then they want to change history.
I say the education, the school to prison pipeline. They making sure they get their 85% from the school. But go ahead, brother. I'm gonna jump down. Much respect to everybody.
Exactly. They want to make sure that those buildings, those warehouses are not just abandoned buildings. Because a jail is nothing but an abandoned building if they don't have no prisoners in it. So they're gonna have that prison to school, the school to prison pipeline. They're gonna have that. Dark Communion. Let's see if the brother want to add. Salute to you, brother. How you doing?
What up? What up, though?
Peace.
What up, though?
How you?
Peace to you.
Peace to you.
Hold on. I think I got the wrong earpiece in. It's gonna sound real. My audio gonna be acting real shitty.
But
Can you hear me?
But you're loud and clear, though, brother.
Oh, am I?
Yes.
I was just gonna add on to what you're saying. Like, I don't disagree with you as far as like corrupting the children, but I don't really think that they're the main focus. They're the backstory. I think they're the backstory. The front story, the manipulation is continuing to dissipate on everything and everyone. It's just not. It's the focus is not just the children. It's us too. See, like I get everything you're saying, but they're not done with us yet, because still it's more people that's on this conscious shit, that's on this real knowledge shit than not. It's still more of them than us. So they gotta keep up appearances and keep everything focused on the whole pie. Because when you focus on the whole pie, we can get the underlings with the adults. That's how I can get you to believe in Jesus. This is how I can get you in the transformerism. This is how I can get everybody on the same page, by focusing on the whole world instead of just like focusing on the children. Like we can't. I understand that that's what you're saying. The school system is doing it, but they did a number on us first.
Indeed, you're right.
And some of the people that's our age is still under that, and it's still more of them than it is of us. I don't know why we can't forget that part. Like, we are outnumbered on that scale, like 10-1. For real. And I'm talking 10 million to 1,000 type shit. Like, there's really only like in the whole world, I'm thinking it's probably like maybe about, let's say it's a cool million people that's on the conscious level, right? But you still got a motherfucking 10 billion people on the fuck shit. Look at the numbers.
Brother, you're right. We're outnumbered. But we got to close the ranks and we got to increase the ranks. We got to keep going. That shouldn't discourage us, because it's more of them than us. We just gotta fight harder.
I'm not discouraged. I'm
not saying that. I'm just saying it shouldn't.
I'm not saying you said it either. I'm just saying, like, I'm not really discouraged, but I just can't really waste my energy on the arguments, the people that are actually like really, you probably might want to disagree with this, but you like a 5%er. I'm a 5%er too. Like, when you look at the pie, see, like, you got to chop this whole thing. You got to look at the whole pie, right?
I'm familiar with the lessons. I am a 5%er. If you look at it that way, 5% of us, 5% of us, teach the truth. Them 10%ers is the wicked people, and the 85% is the ones who are blind, deaf, and dumb. I understand.
Right, that part. So when you look at it like that, the 85%, right? So the 5% we can't argue with the 85%, because that's what we do. That's what be happening on YouTube.
I don't do that. I teach them they can take it or leave it.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Like that part, like I really do. But listen, when the information gets so thick and is really powerful, you can find yourself in a situation where you're dealing with the 85%, because listen, they're not going any fucking where.
All the time, bro. You're right, brother.
You're
right.
gonna find you whether we want to argue with these people or not. Like, look, I'm finna name drop and you don't care about this name. Like Sinetta, for instance. He is a member of the 10%.
Sure is.
But guess what? That 10% got the ear of the 85.
Right again.
That is a powerful entity, an issue for us 5%ers. I'm not saying give up. I'm not saying that. Talk your shit. But at the end of the motherfucking day, we need some of these people from the 85 to come over to the 5.
I agree with you, bro. I agree.
And check it out. When you first come into the knowledge, the 85 are the bloodsuckers. They will suck off of the 5% and leave you naked and dry. And still rock with the 85 after they agree with you. Because I got family members that I've actually had conversations with, but at the end of the day, I can't change nobody's minds. And that's what we find ourselves in, that position when we spread the information and putting this out there. We have to let them come to us. If they're not going to come to us, fuck them. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the way it's got to be.
When it's crunch time, brother, and we got to handle business, you better come on. We don't have time for the other shit, bro. You better come on when it's time to do battle, when it's time to handle business. Bring your ass on, man. I don't got time for none of that other shit. Come on. So I agree with you. Fuck them if they ain't coming. That's it. I agree with you.
Yeah, because listen, a lot of us people as so-called Americans, aka Americans, or people that were born in the United States, we are shallow. We're not looking at the whole fucking picture. The whole world is under a monopolization. It is just not America. It is just not the United States. It is just not South America. It's Africa. It's Europe. It's Russia. It's Australia.
That's
Everybody is under the same fucking manipulation, the umbrella, a la I, aka Resident Evil. Check the movie out. Peep out the symbolism, the umbrella corporation. Peep it out. They tell you what the fuck they doing. This is where we're at right now. And we can diss the whole knowledge of the movies and all that, but you can't discredit the truth.
No, you can't.
It is what it is.
But a lot of our people though, we think problems go away. They don't. You gotta solve them. You know what I'm saying? You gotta solve problems. And we'll discredit the truth, and especially if it's coming from one of us. If the person who's giving that truth look like one of us, they're gonna more than likely they're gonna shun it anyway, because a lot of us see each other through the eyes of our enemy. A lot of us see each other like that, and we don't think we're worthy, and we are taught to not believe each other. We're taught that.
I agree. That is a taught behavior. That is definitely a taught behavior. Like the programming, like I understand. Like, check this out. Even though we understand a lot of the information we deem as 100, and we see things on a higher level, right? But we're still under the umbrella. Even within all of your knowledge, you're still under the fucking umbrella. I'm still under it too. Like, I'm not dissing you or myself. I'm just saying, like, the whole world is under this. We're still in this game together. And I actually did think not participating was the answer.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and we're under it by default. It's not. We're not willing participants. Hell no. Hell no. We're not.
I agree.
We was born in the world that already existed. You know,
exactly.
Already existed and was already functioning in a certain way, and those who brought us in this world was, you know, in that
under it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By default.
Yeah. And here's the kicker. This is the part that's gonna fuck everybody up, though, right? This is the part that's gonna hurt a little bit. In order to get away from the New World Order, you're gonna have to damn near kill yourself through hunger, no shelter, no cash, none of the tech. Like if you want to play this, we not gonna be a part of the system game. Guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna have to leave all the tech. And money is tech. Books are technology. Your car, that's tech. If you really, really serious about divorcing and trying to get away from everything that this place has created, and you want to be a part of nature and you want to be with nature, you have to leave everything. You can't cherry pick. You can't decide, well, I'm not gonna use my air conditioning, or I'm not gonna use let's say the toilet, or pee on in the toilet, or I'm not gonna use the toothpaste. Cool. So you got to do all this shit outside. You brush your teeth with the dirt. You know what I'm talking about? You, like, if you want to be really, like, if you spending cash and you got money, listen, bro, you fronting.
I understand the currency and all that, but for us, them inventions and all that stuff, those things that were brought forth and invented by us. Those things were invented by us.
Yes.
The air conditioning and all the other stuff, that was invented by us. So therefore, that is ours. Now, I can understand the money and all that, because for one, it's certain things that we pay for monthly that should be damn free. You paying for water when you got the Atlantic Ocean, you got the Pacific Ocean, you got rivers. You're paying for water. What you're really paying for is that valve that valve that they turn. You're not really paying for the water.
Actually, you're paying for your survival. That's how I look at it. You're paying for your existence. Because if you don't pay your rent and you don't pay your monthly phone bill, you don't pay your light bill, you don't pay any of your bills, you don't pay your car note, or you don't buy your car, you don't pay your insurance on your car, you don't pay the monthly the yearly subscriptions to having a driver's license or paying your insurance and all of these things, right? If you decide like you're gonna take the alternative, guess what's gonna happen to you? They're gonna lock your ass the fuck up. That's what's gonna happen.
Although a lot of those things they were made essential.
Yes.
They were made essential. You know, I mean, vehicles essential. I remember a time we didn't have cell phones. You waited till if you had somebody there to write down who called you, they didn't contact you until you got home. I remember that time. I'm from that time when there was no cell phone that was available to us. People can call you and contact you wherever you at in the world now. As an adult, a grown man, I remember when there was no cell phones available for us to, that didn't cost an arm and a damn leg for each phone call. Peace to the goddess of love. I remember those times.
Yeah, it did cost an arm and a leg back in those times. Because listen, I was one of those niggas where when I did become an adult, I went off to college and I did my thing or whatever, right? Yes, the Dark Chameleon did go to college. Okay, but at some point during my college career or whatever I was doing, I did eventually move back with my mother, and I got my own separate phone line, right? I got my own phone line established in her house where it was a house phone, and I had my own personal line. And with that personal line, I have my own personal bill. So any bill out, anytime I talk to anybody out the state of Michigan or called anybody out the state of Michigan, it was a separate bill for that as well. Like,
but back then, every call costed. You couldn't stay on
money
like we do now. You can call all over the world now. They're all over the United States anyway, and it don't cost you no more. Back in the day, a long distance phone call costed. You say that's long distance, that local. You used to have to answer that question. Is that on long distance or local? But now you can just make a phone call anywhere, or you can receive a phone call anywhere from anywhere, and it don't cost you no more. You get a monthly fee, and that's it. That's how it was. That's how it is now. But back then, every single phone call costed. When you got that bill, it was thick, and it had a rundown of every phone call you made. And your cell phone bill was even thicker.
Right. So, that's why I brought that up, because you was talking about not paying for phone calls. Like if you had like a 500 call limit, it don't matter whether that call was a minute, 2 minutes, or an hour, right? If you had over 500 phone calls, each call after that 500 was gonna cost you. Because your bill your plan only was based off of the 500 calls. Wow. And those calls could have been all local. If you go over that limit, that's what it was. Like,
I remember having, you get 500 minutes, or you get 1,000 minutes, or 1,500 minutes. I remember those days. Those days was not that long ago. It wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't.
started giving flat rates. Okay, you get unlimited. I'm glad they do unlimited because that 500 minutes, 1,000 minutes, 2,000 minutes, that was crazy. Because people's phone were getting cut off for a quarter. For a quarter.
Yeah. But one of the things that they did get rid of that hurt everybody, where you had 3 months to catch your bill up, you had 3 months to pay your bill. Like, that's gone.
Yeah.
Remember when you had 3 months to pay your rent?
I don't remember that, but I keep my shit tight.
Well, I remember that. Well, I keep my shit tight, but I do remember all your bills, like even if you got behind, you had like a 3-month grace period. I'm talking cable, electricity, phone, gas, all that. You had a 3-month grace period.
Indeed. But brother, I'm going to end the stream right here, brother, at the 1:30 mark. I thank you for coming up, brother, to add on to the bill. Salute to you. It's always good, brother.
Can I ask you a question, though, brother?
Indeed.
Can you do me a favor?
What is it? What's up, brother?
YouTube is silencing me, right? I don't know if you know that, right? I got my own channel, and YouTube took my channel.
Okay.
Because like they really go attack us individually. They're not going to come at us as a group, right? So I just want to not really ask you for a favor. I just want you to really just put something out there, right? This is for anybody who dealing with you, right? Just understand that we are actually in a fucking war. It's actually it's really a real war going on. And I don't think people actually really they don't really believe it. Like you probably know this, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think all of our listeners actually know that it's an actual fucking war going on.
You know why I thought Chameleon? Because a lot of our people, when they say war, it's always associated to just the violent part. War don't only mean violent. It's a war for our minds, our children's minds, and making our children and our elders and the ignorant among us soft targets. It's an educational war, a medical war, a spiritual war. You name it. You name it. It's a war against our very existence. It's a war. So I understand when you say we are at war. I understand that. Trust me, I do. If you run down a line of my videos, I talk about that all the time. Being at war, war being waged against us. We are not engaging. That's the thing. We're not engaging. War's been waged against us, but we just don't engage. We don't fight the war. We capitulate most of the time because there's no way anybody should tell us how our children going to be taught our history. That should be an automatic no. It should be a hell no. You're not going to teach our children anything detrimental to their existence and their well-being. You're not going to do that. But if they're doing that in Florida, because it's being allowed, period. That's how I see it. If they're doing it, it's being allowed.
That's all I wanted to really say, bro. Because I don't think the people are taking the war thing really to the heart, because there is no bullets flying at their heads, and
exactly,
like they don't see what we mean when we say war. when they associate things with war, they see military activity and things like that. Like, I'm the person that told everybody, this is 5 years ago, maybe 6, that nigga, they don't need to chip us up, because we were going through a chip panic at one point.
Yeah,
right?
Implantable biomicrochip. I remember that.
Yeah. Niggas was freaking out talking about, they're not finna chip me up, But listen, I'm the nigga that said, oh, hold up, nigga. You already chipped up. You don't know you chipped up.
Yeah.
You are on YouTube. Your phone has a chip. They convinced you to put like on some real shit. Like, and then I heard somebody say this shit on a panel the other day, and I'm like, oh, really? So now y'all figuring it out. Listen, I want my motherfucking flowers. I'm sorry, I'm a jerk. I am, because I said this shit. I really did. Like, listen, I can timestamp this shit, like, on some real shit. Because listen, I'm not really a jerk, but I can be when niggas don't want to give me my respect.
I hear you, brother. But I have to end it, brother. We 5 minutes past, longer than I want to go. Salute to you for coming up, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, cool, bro.
Peace.
You have a good evening.
You have a good evening too, brother. Peace. Salute to you. I'm gonna run down the esteemed chat again and say peace to Big Dog Philly OG, respect to the goddess of love, Anthony Lowe, Bronze Flat Power God, Joe State, No, P. Moses, Bronze Flat Power God, Chief 18 Wills. Thank you all for coming through. I appreciate it. Hope the information was feasible to you. This is The Enemy's Public. I am Bro.Nasir. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section. Peace.
Yo, the enemy's public, I gotta keep my eyes open. Pay attention, stop walking around like you blindfolded. This not the World Cup, but Nasir be kicking knowledge. This is the type of information you can never learn in college. It's time to fight back, it's no more trying to play it cool. We got interviews, podcasts, and got the latest news. So sit back and relax, we about to get it started. Earth is a canvas, and guess who's the con artist? They brainwashing us, the system corrupted. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. You are now rocking with the enemy's public. I said you are now rocking with the enemy's public. Hey.